So when you first get into home brewing beer, you go to recipe kits, right? And originally it starts out as like extract kits. So you go to places, your local beer store if you have one, More Beer, Northern Brewer online, and they have these already curated recipe kits. Everything is all there. Sometimes like on More Beer, you got to order the yeast separately, but for the most part, it's all in one box. And they ship it to you, or you pick it up from your homebrew store and you go to town on it. What happens is you lose your creative ability to kind of change that beer. But as you grow in your homebrewing skills, you start playing with the ingredients a little more, a little less, adding something extra to those recipe kits, which is where I've been for probably a year or so. But now I've got my own recipe kit. I designed it myself. Everything about it I put into it. Let's see how it goes. It could go catastrophically bad, or it could be really awesome. So let's get started. And so there's the recipe. I picked out each individual ingredient, and they box it up just like a recipe would be and shipped it out to me. The Safe Ale US 5, that's just some extra that I keep on hand. But everything else goes in this recipe. I want a nice body to this porter, so I went with 9 pounds of raw 2-row, 1 pound of chocolate malt, 1 pound of caramel malt, 1 more pound of chocolate malt, and 1 more pound of caramel malt. First thing I'm gonna do is check my pH. Trying to be between 5.2 and 5.6. And we're between 5.9, which is about 5.9, which means it'll come down because this is a very acidic beer, this dark grains. We're gonna add water, the salts for the water chemistry. And I got that off Brewer's Friend as usual. Quick stir, and now we're gonna add our 2-row. I'm mashing in it's 168 right now, but I'm gonna aim to, when I have all the grains in here, I'm aiming for about 153, 154. Started with just over 8 gallons of water and figured that out with my brewing software using Beersmith this time. When you have a recipe kit, it gives you all that information. It makes it easy. When you make your own recipe, you got to kind of go with brewing software, have the knowledge. Let's get the other grains. This is the rest of the 2-row as well as our dark grains, our chocolate and our caramel. Oh, that smells good. We don't want any dough balls. Oh, that smells good, guys. Whew. Okay, so 1 hour and 10 minutes. Now I'm going to go ahead and disconnect or turn off the pump. And we're going to transfer from the mash tun very slowly over to the boil kettle. All right, so leaving the valve on the pump partially open, just like we did through the whole recirculating. Now I'm going to go ahead and slowly drain the mash tun and put it in the boil kettle. Open this valve. Open. And I'm slowly easing into the boil. I bring it up to about 210, pretty aggressively, but right now, right when it's about 210 and it's just starting to bubble, I go real slow because I don't want this thing to boil over. You see how much space? It's only a little more than an inch there from the top to the wort, but Just gotta be careful. I had a boil over one time and it's not fun. So nice and easy. Let the heat off, bring it up, let it off, you know, just back and forth until you get a nice rolling boil. Got a decent little boil going, so I'm gonna go ahead and add some hops very slowly so I don't get a hop break. This has definitely been more of a struggle than normal. I think because the grain bill is so heavy, getting it to an aggressive boil without boiling over. And so we're doing an ounce of U.S. Kent Goldings at the 1 hour mark. So we're gonna boil this for an hour. And then we're going to add some other hops at flame out. And that's why I don't like, those overflows. Those can get very, very, very messy, and that's going to be very sticky. This has been one of the hardest beers as far as keeping it from overflowing that I've ever done. And we're almost there to the hour mark. Haven't been able to film much because I've been constantly messing with the heat. But we're almost there. Going in with a pound of lactose. About 5 minutes left in the boil. I'm also going to put my wort chiller in and let it start sterilizing. Going to put half an ounce of U.S. Northern Brewer hops in right at flame out, and we'll swirl it around with the wort chiller. I have the water onto the wort chiller. So now as soon as it cools off a little bit, I'll grab it by the handle here. And we'll start swirling this thing around. All right, so we're down to 74 degrees. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get my sample so I can get a gravity reading, and then we'll put the rest into the fermenter. Of course, everything's been sterilized. Very careful about all that. Now we'll add some oxygen. That'll help make sure our yeast get a great start. For yeast, I'm using 1028 London Ale. Put it on. Bubbler. Here's my probe that goes into the side of the fermenter. The fermenter is in my fridge. That's a little heater fan. And the probe is connected to my Inkbird controller. I'm going to ferment at about 63 to start out with. And towards the end, after about 4 or 5 days, I'll go ahead and bump it up to about 67. So it looks like we're right at 1.060, which is pretty close. I was shooting for 1.062. So we're pretty close to where we need to be. Make sure you stay tuned for a Homebrew Wednesday where I go over the tasting and the results of this beer. It'll be coming up in the future. And I appreciate you sticking around for the whole video. Guys, please subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and I appreciate it if you like the video, if you got something out of it. I'll see you guys next time.